DeShaun Foster, Eric Bieniemy, and the Bruins, they're going to feast against Hawaii in their opener.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcasts, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast. It's got zero sugar. It's convenient, portable size, a perfect pick-me-up wherever you go. Go to 5hourenergy.com. Use the code LOCKEDONCFB. You can get 20% off your order. It's only available until September 30th. One order can't be used on any other promotions. 5hourenergy.com. Where we get started today is some keys to victory for UCLA, a team that, yes, you can go to FanDuel and see UCLA favored close to 14.5 is the last line I saw on FanDuel for the UCLA team. But large in part, it's how they look. This is a game defined by the eye test. And if the score is a lot closer than it looks, well, that would be a big telling of the story, too. Can UCLA pass not only what they need by winning past 14.5 points, can they win the eye test? Can they do it all and impress in a game where it's not exactly a win-win, even if you win? You want to step yourself on the right foot and put yourselves in the right direction, heading forward in the DeShaun Foster era, where we're not going to see the Bruins play for another 2 weeks after that. And then they play Indiana, where they might be favored at home as well. So where does UCLA look like? Well, it's a buffet. We're going to talk about the buffet UCLA needs to provide for everybody involved, fans, people at home, people in the stadium, to their players in general. But most importantly, the beasts up front are going to need to eat, all right? We get back to our keys to the game graphic. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this. If you're listening at home, I will be telling you and going for our 3 keys to the game. All right, here they are. Key number 1. All right, you see that? The O-line and the D-line have to step up. What does that mean? Well, most importantly, UCLA was one of the worst teams in the FBS at protecting their quarterback. Sacks galore last year. And that was evident in Game 1 against Coastal Carolina, because as much as we want to make when Dante Moore showed out, Garbers having 2 picks, it was the inability to protect their quarterback when he stepped back, dropped back to throw. It was very evident in that Utah game where it was very winnable regardless of the inept offense UCLA brought to Salt Lake City last year in, late September of 23. All the Bruins needed to do was protect the quarterback, and there are times they couldn't do that regardless if it was Slee, if it was Moore, or in this case, it's the unquestioned starter from the end of 2023 heading into 2024. And I can talk a lot about Garbers. I can spit out numbers. Is he a good quarterback? Is he not? If you don't protect him, he's going to look pretty bad. And even if you're a 5-star talented freshman, even if you're a veteran quarterback learning a new offense, it doesn't matter what Eric Bieniemy has if he can't mask offensive line issues, and if they have not improved from the year before, and if this new group, large in part quite a few returners mixed in with Makaheli, shifting around Carlin to a starting center, if this group, which does have experience, does not play well this season, then it's not going to be a good season. And if they don't do so against the Hawaii front that was able to get into the backfield, that was able to do things against Delaware State. Yes, obviously the physicality is a little different for the Bows compared to a Delaware State team, as opposed to what one would hope in a UCLA Big Ten team. This year will be defined by what the Bruins do in the trenches. So, namely, 1, the offensive line has to perform. And yes, last year UCLA was the top 20 team in running the football, close to 200 yards per game. You got a big tailback returning in TJ Harden, who should take the mantle well instead of splitting carries with Steele. And then you've got a change of pace and a dynamo in Keegan Jones, who will be electric in his own right. So the Bruins should be able to run the football. It won't be a majority of that. It'll be a little different with what Eric Bieniemy's bringing to the table and how he will utilize Ethan Garbers, hopefully protected with his receivers, right? And that can't happen if the Bruins can't protect their quarterback, because then they become a run-first, run-only team. And even then, I'm not sure they're strong enough to consistently go down and race it down the opposition, right? They're not in Michigan last year, who could run like 20 straight run plays down Penn State with the game on the line and win the game. Okay? UCLA does not have, even if it's much improved offensive line play, I'm not sure they're that type of team physically, right? They could go put up big numbers potentially with what they have. They need a balance to keep teams off balance, and then they can out-muscle teams. They got to out-hustle teams. So the offensive line has to play well in this game. Make us proud. I want 0 sacks. And there are times in the first couple of games last year where, yes, they didn't give up any sacks, but pressure was there. And then when Utah came to town, it was a little, when the Bruins went to Utah, not good. Not good, not good, not good. The other key is the defensive line. UCLA is going to have to contain Braden Shager, the Hawaii starting quarterback. How do you do that? Large in part, the D-line must inflict some pain and enforce their will. The interior defensive line should be okay, but with Ikaika Malloy saying in the last media availability that he's going to go through about 8 different guys in rotation, go with quote-unquote the hot hand. That could mean the freshest legs. He said he's going to go with the hot hand and rotate 8 different players when it comes to rushing the quarterback. Now, you can disguise things and maybe blitz, but that might not work exactly in this scenario when Hawaii goes with the run and shoot, and they can have receivers doing different things, different patterns off the line of scrimmage, and they can beat you more often than not with a blitz. And we didn't see a lot from Hawaii considering it was terrible, terrible weather. And as much as they're supposed to beat Delaware State by 40, it was a weird game. They traveled weirdly to Delaware State. The weather didn't cooperate. So there is potential for Hawaii to play up to the competition, play much better offensively with the defense that is somewhat unproven. Obviously, everybody going to week 1 is unproven, but we don't know with a defensive coordinator getting his first chance to call the shots for UCLA in Ikaika Malloy without the pieces that Danton Lynn was gifted last year with top-tier rushers, NFL-like talent across the board in the linebacker room and on a D-line, and a very improved secondary. This year, when you start the run and shoot, the secondary will be tested, and you can help them out by the D-line playing much better than what they're expected to. Not like in 23 standards. I know we talked about it yesterday. What's the defense got to do? A large in part, this team will be defined by how strong they are in the trenches. Said that 3 times already in this opening segment. The offensive line must be much better. The D-line must be adequate. And they've got talented pieces. They've got different guys they can rotate. And it might be it's the D-line with no name this year. It was Latu who did everything. The Murphy twins, you had Wasa. You had some talent on this D-line. And it's not that there is not this year, but it's different when you've got an absolute beast who is racing into the backfield, hustling and forcing fumbles when the ball carrier was 10, 15 yards down the line forcing a fumble, and that leads to a score early on in the game against a top 25 team at the time last year, right? That's what you're losing with a Latu or the intensity of the Murphy twins, all combined with what they had last year and the new emphasis on physicality and forcing turnovers. Mixing that in with some turnover luck, the Bruins had one of the top defenses, I think, top 10 in total defense, one of the best rushing defenses. And if you can't dominate the line of scrimmage, teams in the Big Ten will run on UCLA and not do anything else. Now, Hawaii is not going to showcase that in this game, but showcasing the Bruins' ability to get in the backfield with only 4 up front, that will be huge to showcase, hey, we don't need a blitz. We don't need to show that week 1. And they can save any sort of pressure later on in the season and not have to dial it all out in week 1. Okay, we're going to go with keys 2 and 3 in the second segment. We're going to talk a little bit more about what the Bruins need to do. Are they going to feast? They're going to do more? Is it famine? And more score predictions next on this game preview and prediction episode of Locked On UCLA. The Bruins taking on the Bows. All right, you're sitting there, you're getting ready for all these games, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry for this week 1. Not just the games, but I literally need to eat. Well, you can fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. You can have wellness goals met. You have chef-crafted meals that include options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. Fresh, never frozen meals with Factor. And most importantly, you're trying not to miss any action. You can eat these and heat them up. Make sure they're ready to go, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. And you're not going to miss any of the stuff. 35 different meals, 60 more add-ons, and you can choose from those every week with new flavors to explore. All you have to do is head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LOCKEDONCollege50 at factormeals.com/LOCKEDONCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Well, you like to eat, but you also like to feast with your cars because passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. Over 120 million plus parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for because with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts you want at the prices you want, the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep a ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right. Segment 2, we're continuing our keys to the opener for UCLA, right? It's an ID eye test. The idea is they go in and they take care of business. Where they're 2 touchdown, maybe a little bit more favorites against Hawaii. The line moved up a little bit after Hawaii failed to cover a massive 40-point spread against one of the worst FCS schools in 2023 playing football because they had to replace Oregon on their schedule. You mix in some weather, you mix in some goofy travel, whatever it may have you, 30-mile-per-hour gusts of winds is not supposed to necessarily rain down on the UCLA parade into Honolulu, but you never know exactly what can happen. Let's move on to keys 2 and 3 in this one. Okay, key number 2, force a turnover for the defense, all right? Hawaii, they were not turned over. They didn't necessarily play well, but their quarterback, who was only 50% completion rate, he got on the floor, he ran, right? He had a dual threat ability, scored 2 rushing touchdowns, sparked his team into a victory. And this is a Hawaii team that was able to score on special teams too with a punt return touchdown, having, yes, mind you, at week 0, 3 Mountain West players of the week, offense, defense, and special teams, practically sweeping those awards. In large in part, Shager played the part. You had Jemai Otis playing a part, and their returner returned a punt for a touchdown. Yes, only 44 yards, but they made plays and they did what they needed to do, which was come out the win and get their year 3 under Timmy Chang starting well. Right? It didn't look impressive, but they got the job done and ended up winning by 3 scores. A 40-point spread sometimes can be the most ridiculous thing, and Hawaii didn't cover. But what UCLA needs to do is cover. They've got an unproven secondary when it comes to playing together. And the idea is experience doesn't equal talent. Can it play together, come together under Ikaika Molloy? Will he employ a similar system, the 4-2-5 like Danton Lynn? Will it look a little different? Hawaii's run and shoot's going to need more DBs in there. Can you mix in the KJ Wallaces of the world? Will Jalen Moore get some time? And how the corners between Devin Kirkwood and Jalen Davies also play alongside Ramon Henderson and Brian Anderson. Can one of those guys get an interception? Make Shager have a terrible decision? That'll be helped out if the Bruins, you go back to key 1, their D-line can get some pressure in the backfield, but there will be some quick throws. So it's up to these DBs, arguably some of the linebackers too, because Oladejo is able to get a pick. Madrano can make plays as well. Kaho will be back as a key linebacker for the Bruins, coming back as one of the potential comeback players of the year if he's healthy the whole year. UCLA needs to force a turnover. And no, they can win this game without forcing a turnover, yes. But it's setting the standard moving forward. Last year, they faced off Grayson McCall in Coastal Carolina in the Rose Bowl in week 1. Grayson McCall was one of those quarterbacks who had only thrown a few interceptions in his career. He was not a turnover machine. He's now the starting quarterback at NC State. While they did struggle with Western Carolina in their opener, he's still a guy who can throw for 3 bills and get a couple of touchdowns. And really what set things off for this defense last year was momentum is a huge thing. Yes, the win is one thing, but proving the eye test, being like, we know we're good, and playing like it, when they eventually showed out to the rest of the country against Utah that the defense was legit, is forcing turnovers. And UCLA got some turnover luck last year. You get, I think the number was from Bill Connolly from ESPN was, you recover about 50% of your fumbles. Every 1 out of 4 pass breakups can lead to an interception. So it's up to these DBs in a pass-happy offense, the run and shoot. While Shager may tuck and run, he's going to throw it 30 to 40 times with much better weather than it was in week 0 for the Bows against a very different defensive front and a fired-up team. The DBs need to make plays. Somebody's got to make a play. Who will be the Alex Johnson of last year, right? He wore the 36, the Pasquale number. This year it's Joshua Swift. And Johnson came out of nowhere. The former walk-on, earned the Scally, comes in and led the team in interceptions and made some big plays time and time again, which would have been amongst the nation's best for individual interception rates and was one of the better players in the Pac-12 at getting turnovers with interceptions. Can UCLA find somebody, whether it's a whole team, whether it's an individual effort, somebody who has a ball hawk-like mentality that sets the stage in 24 in week 1? They can win this game certainly without needing to force a turnover, but I think it's important, very important, that they do so in this game. 1 or 2 would make them look like, all right, this is not a defense that'll get rolling over. Because I look at some score predictions, I'll give mine in the third and final segment, but large in part the idea is, well, UCLA might give up some points. Okay, they might give up some points. And last time they played Hawaii in 21, UCLA dominated. I think it'll be a little different this year, different team, different system, different mojo. Road game can make all the difference in the world. UCLA doesn't want to get added to Hawaii's list of power conference teams beaten against. Now, can the Bruins force that turnover? Important. Third and final key. All right, everyone feast. Everyone feast. What does that mean? That's going back to Logan Loya's quote that it's a buffet, everyone's going to feast. It's up to the Eric Bieniemy offense to come in and showcase what we're expecting. He was given a big, important role when he was with the Chiefs, handling and being a big part of this Kansas City run when they won a couple of Super Bowls when he was enlisted as the offensive coordinator for Kansas City. Now, what can UCLA do with a Super Bowl champion offensive coordinator who was somewhat sought after by DeShaun Foster, right? All the noise and everything's being made that DeShaun Foster's not ready. He's not a good hire. UCLA butchered it by not firing Chip Kelly and wasting every opportunity to get all the other coaches that got snatched up by the other schools. And they're left with DeShaun Foster. Well, the first big hire he made was to get Bieniemy. It was rumored, and he went after him, and I think it's a solid hire. With the talent they have in the receiver room, a veteran quarterback who can handle all the words and just understand the language that is an NFL extremely complex offense, right? An NFL West Coast style offense. Can they handle it? Well, everybody's got a feast. Hawaii likes to spread the ball out. When they're on offense, they had 8 different receivers catch a ball. UCLA's got the talent between, 6, 7, 8 receivers, tight ends, right? You can't forget Matavao. You've got Jones who can catch a pass. You got Harden who needs to eat. UCLA room full of tailbacks and now fullbacks that'll be implemented with a potential 1-2 tight end system. The UCLA Bruins being able to go split out wide. Garbers wants to feast. In this game, I'd like to see 2 quarterbacks get down to Justin Martin. Maybe we see 3, but that's expecting a lot. UCLA, I said in the preview offensive episode, for this offense to look legitimate and prove something, they need to score a minimum of 42 points. Not that 35 is a bad day. Not that 32 or 31 wouldn't be cool, or 28. But against Hawaii, I think what UCLA, if you're going to win over some supporters, right? Those casuals that are wondering, should I buy tickets to that home opener against Indiana? Should I believe in 24 that this team is not going to be a 1-2-3 win team like Locked On College Football says with Spencer McLaughlin or all those other Big Ten haters, or the Cleveland.com media poll says UCLA is going to be 15th? How do you pass the eye test and say, some of these Big Ten defenses have only faced mediocre quarterback play and mediocre offenses, and that's why they've skirted by as a second-best conference in the country in football prior to all the expansion talk and all the expansions and conference realignment? Well, most importantly for UCLA, it's feasting. Garbers being kept upright, would like to see him have a 300-yard day, 3 touchdowns. And if UCLA is going to score 42, that still leaves quite a bit more points on the board for TJ Harden to put up 95, get a touchdown or 2. Keegan Jones go 50, 25, right? 50 rushing, 25 receiving in the tub, right? You want to feast J. Michael Sturdivant, who's got catches in 25 straight games. You don't want to leave him on an island. You want to make sure he gets a big play. All right. Then you got Rico Flores Jr. I want to see what he can do, considering he's listed ahead on the depth chart of Logan Loya, last year's returning receiver. All right. And Flores was left off the EA Sports roster for UCLA. And then you got guys below all those guys who are fairly talented and they want to make their names known in case anything happens in 24. So the iconic cry from Loya, it's a buffet everybody's going to eat. I want to see it. The Bruins got to showcase that in week 1. If you're going to be a team that is going to be reckoned with and be a bold-like team, make it to a bowl game, capable of winning those 6-7 games, that may be their ceiling this year, with lots of tough road games coming up, it's up to UCLA to do it and start this new era, the DeShaun Foster era, off on the right foot. Everybody's got to feast, okay? And for everybody to feast, they got to just do their assignments. They don't need to be spectacular, but if they're playing well, then they could hit all these extremely high benchmarks I'm setting in week 1. And that's just to prove that this won't be a lost season. They can win. We can have good feelings. I'll be talking about in the reaction afterwards. Cool. But to have benchmarks, high benchmarks week 1 for myself and for this DeShaun Foster-led team, Ethan Garbers-led team, they got to hit those to prove all those super doubters will be wrong. And yet there's still a lot to clean up from week 1 to week 2 with the bye in between. And then you got to go play another road game in SEC country. Okay. To prove all that wrong, they've got to hit these extremely high watermarks to prove that they're a legitimate bowl contender. It's okay if they're not, but we want to prove everybody wrong. And if I'm going to get proven wrong, we have to see what my predictions are. Are they going to be right? Will they be wrong? What are my thoughts? What are my half-baked ideas, fully baked, whatever it might be? We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. You're sitting there that Saturday, it's the Labor Day weekend, it's week 2, week 3, whatever it might be, and you're trying to sit up and watch the complete slate of college football. You're tired. You're busy. You've been stuck with the kids all week. You've been stuck at work. Maybe you're just trying to make ends meet, but you need the energy. Well, 5-Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Whether it's that long list to do for work, the DIY projects at home, maybe your DIY project is sitting down and watching football with the fam, with the friends, with everybody coming over. Maybe it's that frenemy you have. Well, you have a large list of projects which involve watching football. You can get your supplies, which is important. And the essential one is a 5-Hour Energy shot. All right, this is what you got to do. It's the brand hard-working people like you have trusted for over 20 years. Whether you're working hard or working hard watching, cheering on your favorite team, you can give yourself the alert, energized feeling to get through a busy, hectic college football day. And you can find 5-Hour Energy shots right at the cash register at nearly every convenience drug and grocery store nationwide. Most importantly, if you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, that is LOCKEDONCFB, to get 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th, one order only, and cannot be used with any other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. All right, here we go. Let's wake ourselves up and get ourselves rolling on into the third and final segment. All right, what are we talking about in this third and final segment? What do I think is going to happen in this game? It's prediction time. It's not factual. In my mind, I believe it's factual, but I can't exactly speak it into existence. What do I think this UCLA team is going to do in week 1? It's a lot of unknown. Even Akaika Malloy was like, we just got to put on the pads and play, man. We just got to put on the pads and play and see what this team is. What if you look at one of the unknown teams, and yes, the portal makes it a lot more unknown heading into the season, and then got to get through the game without injuries, right? You see North Carolina's quarterback is already out for the year, taking down a fellow Big Ten rival in Minnesota who had their star running back out for unspecified reasons, to my knowledge at this point. Craziness, right? Craziness. And then that's the big thing. Health, dominance, and the pursuit of greatness for UCLA. Okay? Health, dominance, and the pursuit of greatness for UCLA. What do I think the score is going to be? You might think it's a little ludicrous. I have high expectations. The number benchmark I want UCLA to hit in this game is 42. Yes, 35 will be fine. 30 is okay. It's not a bad offensive day if they score 28. But if this is an Eric Bieniemy-led offense and the struggles UCLA has supposedly had with these players to grasp the concepts, the plays themselves, the wording, the knowledge, even with a veteran club on the offensive side of the football, that would be scary. Although then they got another 2 weeks to prepare for Indiana, who should still be a game in which UCLA is favored. A game against Hawaii, UCLA is favored by FanDuel, according to them. Last they checked, Friday, August 30th, 14.5 points. So offensively, I'd like them to do it, and I think they can. Although we'll find out how the offensive line holds up. Then, for the defense, I think there'll be some growing pains. And the run and shoot, I think Hawaii wants to play much better. They got a game under their belt. They'll have the timing down when it comes to the receiver and the quarterback on the same footing. Route changes, route adjustments on the fly. Adjusting to the 4-2-5 if the Bruins don't bracket a couple of receivers in trips left or trips right formations, depending on what Jimmy Chang and the Rainbow Warriors do. I think they're giving up some points. I think they will. Is it enough to handle UCLA? Probably not. But here we are. So this is my final score prediction. 42-24. Yes, that's a lot of points to score for Hawaii, but this is not last year's UCLA team that had one of the better defenses in the country when it came to total offense. That could be fixed if the Bruins hit the benchmarks by getting pass rushing and getting any turnovers. You can eliminate some Hawaii drives, but you've got to contain Braden Shager or else he will run, maybe not wild, but enough to extend some drives and score a touchdown when UCLA can attempt to not bend and instead break late in a drive. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope it's not a wild shootout. College football fans want that. Doubters want that. That would be fun for me to see. But again, I say the final score will be UCLA 42, Hawaii 24. So a lot of points on the board. And that might be the over and then UCLA covering just barely. Maybe it's a game where they're up 42-17. It's in control. Hawaii scores one late. I'd like to see that happen. But I do think the defense will score points. And until we see and are proven wrong, we'll have to wait and see. And yes, that's a lot of points to ask for Eric Bieniemy's offense to put up with Ethan Garbers in charge. But all it is, hey, talent. Well, go play like it. Go play like it. Even if you're on the road in a hostile environment that's going to be rocking, let's do it. Because you're going to have to do it on the road against LSU, Penn State, at home against Oregon, against a feisty Indiana team that some people think that game's a toss. Every game's apparently a toss-up. So go put 42 in the first game and prove the doubters wrong, at least for now. Okay? So 42-24 UCLA is my overall prediction. That's going to do it. After the game, I will be up with my reaction. You can also look up on Locked On Sports LA and find the postcast reaction with them as well, with Gavin Carlson, formerly of the Daily Bruin. So you're going to get postcast reaction from two separate channels all about your UCLA Bruins. So watch them both, give your love, and see the differences, and we'll go back and forth about this team. We'll be excited, all right? But check out the reaction here on this channel on Saturday night. YouTube, we'll talk about this. Audio will be up Sunday morning, okay? Get your hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.